Welcome everyone to the latest in our series of webinars. In today's webinar, we'll be looking at connecting your remote workforce, engaging them and making sure that you realise the benefits from enterprise mobility. For a bit of background on myself, my name is Paul and I come from a background as a developer. So previously I've built applications for companies such as Royal Bank of Scotland, Virgin Atlantic. Prior to Sonin, I also had a web agency which I sold up in around about 2008-2009 to start Sonin to help companies capitalise on the emerging mobile opportunities. We've been creating apps since about 2009 in the days of the Nokia 3310 the first time round, and nowadays my main role is in helping our clients understand how mobile applies to their businesses and how they can go about making the most of the opportunities that it presents. Today I'm joined by one of our fantastic design team, Will Copsey. I'll let you introduce yourself, Will.
Hi, my name is Will. I'm a user experience designer here at Sonin. I've worked on a range of products from large enterprise systems all the way down to 2 or 3 person startups. I guess my passion for UX stemmed in my education in industrial design, and that kind of led me to curiosity in seeing how we can put those methods into digital development.
Great stuff, thanks Will. So one of the key reasons for talking about this subject today is that organisations and their structures are changing, and nowadays around about 84% of organisations are said to have a remote workforce. And Gartner have said that this need has led companies to have to find tools and technologies that will help their distributed workforce communicate and coordinate with each other effectively. So there are commonalities that we see between all of these different workforces. And more organisations, as they start to move into this space, face the same challenges. And those include everything from ensuring that they have effective internal communications and that teams continue to work together efficiently even when they're not in the same physical space. It's also about fostering the right company culture and ethos when everybody isn't in that same area at the same time. So helping people understand what it is that makes the company great and what it is they need to embody. And then of course there's ensuring that everybody has the right support structures in place. And that includes everything from training to company information to client information and everything they need to do, or everything they need access to do their job fantastically. So in the distributed workforce, the role of enterprise mobility is important and offers us the opportunity to address a number of these things as well as other things around just the general efficiency of everybody's day-to-day work. Many enterprises are already utilising mobile applications, and they also have plans to roll out applications to different parts of the businesses, as needs can be quite diverse. And one of the things we quite often talk about is the fact that when people use apps, they're very task-focused, and therefore you're better off looking at a suite of apps to address each individual section of the business. So they can be used for many different purposes, and some of the things that we've been working on recently include everything from real-time tracking for fleets of vehicles on the road, ensuring that the statistics that both the client and the company internally need are available instantly rather than on a delay. We've been working to help businesses that have sites in largely diverse geographical situations and helping those guys share best practice around customer service and how they can improve everybody's experience. And also we've been working with a number of different companies around tools generally for helping boost the efficiency for those workers. A lot of the time people are still using slightly older tools, maybe based around the old paradigm of working at a desk, and they don't have tools that are now tuned into their jobs. So when it comes to looking at deploying mobile in the business, it's really important that you consider the whole picture fully rather than just certain sections of it. Because even in the enterprise we find that around 80% of apps can be abandoned by their employees after the first use. And that does sound pretty alarming, but with proper consideration, there's no need for your app to be one of these. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about today. So this webinar is about understanding why employees do abandon enterprise apps and how you can make sure that yours isn't one of them and how you can make sure they continue to engage and make the most out of what it is you're offering. So with that in mind, probably a pretty good place to start is some of the key reasons that we understand that employees do abandon their apps and don't continue using them. At this point, if we take a little wait or a little chance to look back in time slightly, one of the interesting things about the mobile revolution is that it was primarily, or at least initially, an employee-led revolution. So rather than it being tools that were provided by the business, historically people would come in and they would find computers set up and attached to networks. This is a very different type of revolution because employees started bringing their mobile phones in with them. And they were going to use different platforms as part of their day-to-day work to increase their efficiency, whether that was through common tools like WhatsApp, Dropbox, or productivity tools like Evernote, for example. This was going to take place and people were going to use these tools, and it was up to the enterprise to then almost retrospectively figure out how they were going to deal with it, how they could make sure that everybody was getting the most out of these opportunities, and also how they could address the security issues. And now as we start to look at what's coming on the horizon and we look at new technologies moving into the marketplace, which may include things like wearables or voice-activated assistants as well as mobile, we find that our user habits are all changing again. And we're using apps very differently to maybe how we did even just 2 or 3 years ago. Users are increasingly demanding of a great experience, whether they're using an app in their personal life or indeed whether they're using them in the workplace. So a recent survey from Salesforce said that 83% of mobile users wanted a fantastic seamless experience, whether that's between their desk and an on-site location, or whether it's moving between devices, their PC and their phone, for example. This requirement for a seamless experience maybe comes back to a few of the reasons that we see people abandoning apps. There are a number of other ones as well. So some of these are slightly more obvious than others. Technical flaws, such as crashes, glitches, will obviously put people off using applications. Not optimizing it properly so that they can use it when they need it, which includes things like being able to use these apps offline. Misunderstanding of the user requirements is a large one that we quite often see when we talk to people about the benefits that they've seen from previous experiences, and something that Will talk about a little bit later. And that kind of leads on to things like the fact that sometimes a badly constructed experience may even make the task at hand slower. And that really leads on to the larger task, or the larger section around user experience. So we quite often see a gulf between the way that companies set about implementing a consumer-facing app, where they spend a lot of time focused around the user, and those that they build for the enterprise, where maybe they make the assumption that people are just going to use these tools. And this is maybe kind of key, and why 64% of users cite the fact that there is a bad user experience as one of their main reasons for abandoning an application. So one of the key questions is, why is user experience so key to an app's success? And at this point, I'll pass you over to Will to take you through this in a little bit more detail.
Thanks, Paul. So before we get into it, so what is UX in enterprise? Well, UX isn't just about a lot of methods. It's about making sure you're solving a problem for real people, in which case, your employees. A good user experience replicates physical interactions with digital ones. UX starts with defining the problem and understanding it. This can be done by talking to your users, like your employees. The aim is to understand their wants, needs, motivations, and pain points. Enterprise can't be a burden though. It has to add value, and that's exactly what the UX process uncovers. Ultimately, apps are like conversations between employees and systems. To fully understand this, we need to look at all the tasks and interactions that make the system up. These vary from uploading photos to chatting to colleagues. We call this a user flow diagram. Once we understand this process, we can look to create efficiency and reduce cognitive load by making decisions easier for our users. Cognitive load is about reducing the thought process it takes to make a decision. But the overall aim of this task is to help users reach their goals easily and efficiently. So once we've done the research phase and we've got a good understanding of what we're looking to build and we've gained some empathy with our users, we're looking to prototype. The best way to ensure your app adds value is to get it into the hands of your users as early as possible through a prototype. Prototypes take many forms, including everything from a hard-coded working model all the way to a sketch. It's all about defining what's right for your users and what you can use to get the concept across easily and efficiently. We use prototyping to validate our ideas, allowing us to fail early and define what works with the minimum amount of work needed. So, some tips on improving usage. A good research phase is paramount to understanding the problem. Gaining empathy helps everyone. If your product solves a problem, users won't not be able to use it. A good onboarding process is important for less tech-savvy users. Gamification can help keep your users coming back for more, but not always apt in some circumstances. Good enterprise apps help businesses become a little bit more employee-centric. Remember, happy employees equals happy customers.
Thanks, Will, that's great. So, as we've kind of discussed in previous webinars, there's 1,001 different points to cover in making sure that you build a successful enterprise app. That includes everything from data flow through to making sure that you have the right infrastructure in place. But maybe from a UX point of view, there are a few key takeaways when building your enterprise app. And those are, as Will said, that your app needs to solve a problem. It needs to help people in their day-to-day job. You really need to talk to your employees early on, engage with them and understand what it is that they need. And then you should approach that process as a conversation. You need to validate the idea through prototyping and testing to make sure that what it is that you're going to build is exactly in line with what it is that they need. And then finally, once you've built your product, you need to understand that it is a product you're building and not a project. And therefore, you need to make sure you have the right internal structures in place to make sure that the product lives on, and that as technology changes and enhances, there's somebody there that's responsible for making sure that bugs aren't introduced, or indeed that new platforms and new opportunities are leveraged. So thank you very much for listening in today. It's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour, so if you'd like to know any more information about any of the things that we've covered, then please do get in touch. Our details are there on the screen. My email address is paul.jarrett@sonin.agency, and our website address is sonin.agency. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll look forward to you joining us on the next one.